This conference will now be recorded.
Sorry, I'm doing some internal stuff real quick. How is everybody?
I'm good. Hi, Brian.
Hello. Long time no
I haven't.
see.
I know I haven't seen you lately.
So it looks like we have what our main topic or one of our topics may be. You just wheeled it into place over there. So
Yes, I did.
cool. Well, it looks like the Three Musketeers are here. So, or the Three Amigos. That might be a more accurate representation.
We got the Angry Craftsman, Jim C. Mack,
Awesome.
Stacy,
Yeah. So
and
yeah, you guys jump in if you got anything. Most of you kind of know how it rolls. It's just kind of a loose round table or what it's evolved to. So if anybody has any questions or comments or anything, just jump right on in. So
We're here, but we're not really here because we got hit with a very last minute cake topper request, which is something I've never done before. And the party is Saturday, but she has to pick it up tomorrow at lunchtime. So we're here, but we're not really here until I get that done.
okay, so you're in limbo.
have fun with that.
So.
Hey, Bill L. If you have any questions, just go ahead and make sure your mic is on and go ahead and pipe up because otherwise we don't know. And there's also a raise your hand button too. Yeah, I can hear you, Bill.
I have a bad connection. That's why I'm not doing the video. No, I don't really have any questions. I started experimenting with rocks with my Nova 51. I know it's not really super made for that, but I'm pretty impressed with what it's doing. I don't know if you guys ever tried rocks like sandstone or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. I've done brick and rocks. Haven't tried sandstone, but yeah, I mean it works.
Yes. Yeah, I'm doing like 200 speed, 100 power. Different results on different rocks. It's pretty cool though. I've actually gotten 4 orders already for it for small rocks.
Nice.
I don't really have any technical questions or any issues.
How are you liking your
Hopped on
machine?
to make
How long have you had it?
January.
Okay.
I pretty much have it figured out, but like I said, I'm just experimenting with different things. You know, my day job keeps me too busy to be able to be on it all the time.
My day job keeps me on it all the time.
Yeah, I know.
So, Richard, did you hear the news of the new machine?
That's what I'm taking a look at. Why I'm here. Looks like a nice little impressive unit.
Yeah,
it is being recorded.
I kind of call it the what?
It's being recorded, so I had to reel that one back in.
Were you going to say something?
Nope.
You want me to pause it?
Nope.
So, I call it the Glowforge Killer. Even though we try not to talk bad about machines, and I'm not. I'm just saying it is. So.
No, the Glowforge has changed the dynamic of the industry completely. So, yeah, why not enter into that entry level market with a powerhouse?
Yep.
Let me see if I can.
I see that they've stepped into the diode market now too.
Have they?
I was about to say that the Glowforge Aurora.
Yep, Aura.
Oh.
You figured
I think
some of these companies would do some market research and name their stuff differently. You got Aeon Novas, and you have now an Aurora.
Well, there's just Aura.
Oh, Aura, not Aurora.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
There's a
I kind of feel
Canadian
like a
company
diode.
there's a Canadian company up here, EasyPlex, that has an Aurora too.
yeah.
Like a diode laser almost feels like a step back. Like if you're paying Glowforge monthlies, if they require that on the cloud or anything to run a diode laser.
I'm here to learn about the Bolt. I've got an Omtech 80 watt and I want something smaller that will fit inside my house. So I'm intrigued.
Okay. Of course, technically any of the Novas will fit in your house too, but yeah, we totally get it. So, and you know, that Bolt is also ideally suited, I think, for people that want to try to go mobile. That's the best solution I've seen in a long time, in case someone maybe wants to take it to an event or put it in a trailer and take it to a fair or craft fair or something. That may open up a lot of doors too.
In my house, I should specify that I mean in the space I have in my craft room. The Omtech
Gotcha.
would be in my house too, but not in the space where I want it to go.
Gotcha. Yeah, we can pull up specs and things like that if you guys want to see them too, but I'll let CeeLo kind of give a little bird's eye view of what's going on there. It's basically an Odin crammed into a really tight all metal shell.
And
Brian, Brian, is that
What's
using a 30 watt Davy tube?
It's the Zamia. It's an SPT 30 watt.
It's an SPT, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got one in an Odin 22, and it's it's good on the Odins. The 60, we now got the 55 watt coherent, that we're running in those. But that's a hot little tube. I run it, and I would consider it, even though it's 30 watts. I mean, it's RF. If you consider that to a 40 or even 60 or watt DC tube, you're still going to get this same beam density as something much higher. So where the rubber meets the road, I'd put that up against a 60 watt DC tube any day. I think I haven't got one yet to run it, but from what I've seen on those little tubes, just from the the quality of the beam being RF and everything. So.
And I'll do some comparisons to see what it would be like compared to my 130, which we know that's not going to be a direct comparison, but we'll know what it can cut. We'll push it to the limit. It's not. I think it's going to be not more powerful, but more efficient cutting than a 30 watt glass tube.
Oh yeah.
But build quality. I mean, even though it's a little thing, it's got the same Thunder build quality. Definitely the thicker metals throughout. It is a heavy duty case, and it still only weighs about 150 pounds.
Yeah. Real quick, James B has his hand up. I know you were going through that. I just didn't want you to not see that since you were rolling mobile. So
yeah.
I just had a question. Will this bleed into the larger formats?
Well, we've got the Odin series that is already RF that he's showing there. That's an Odin 32 with a 55 watt coherent RF tube. And you could and have been able to for a while, but not a lot of people do it. You can get some RF tube options, special order in the Nova series. But the Odin is really, the Odin and the Bolt, they're all RF specific tubes. So.
Yeah, I mean, the Bolt went through Wonka Vision and got shrunk down. You can tell it is a small version of the Odin, and it will perform like the Odin.
Yeah, some of the things that are a little different on the Bolt is it only has a single air assist, so it doesn't have the dual stage air, like most of the others. But none of the other lasers have that, besides Thunder anyway, that I know of. So that's not really a step back for everything you're getting, in that box. But that was one of the ways they could keep it at that 5K price point, was to take out the dual stage air, a little bit smaller tube, the 30 watt, things like that. They really had to pack a lot of that technology into a small space. It still has the TL timer board and the door board and all that stuff built in, some of the other proprietary electronics. So
I do like the fact
all
that
by
they
20 vet.
Hey Brian,
Is the
what's the
fan
difference between like the
enough?
glass tube and that tube?
So a DC excited glass tube uses high voltage, around 30,000 volts, to energize the tube and excite it. And what happens, the reason you get degradation a lot faster, or why the DC tubes die faster, is there's metal vapor deposition from the tantalum electrodes being burnt away from that high voltage arc that runs across, and the resultant plasma discharge. On an RF tube, it's still a CO2 tube, but it's excited a different way. It uses radio frequency, think microwave. So there isn't a high voltage arc running through there, so there's not a lot of degradation of the internal components because you don't have an actual arc going on in there. So they're air cooled generally. That's another difference. You don't have to have water. They last 5 years, 5 to 10 years instead of 2 to 5 or something like that, depending on the tubes. So the lifespans are
three times longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
no
we can
chiller.
go with the 3 times longer, and then almost 3 times smaller beam size.
Yeah,
from what I was reading. So
yeah, the beam is a lot smaller, so you get a lot more beam density, and which also means a thinner kerf. You're cutting less material, so it's a lot higher precision. And the optics in those RF tubes are generally, in the output couplers, they're usually built to a little higher quality than the DC tubes because the RF tubes can be recharged and refurbished. I think that 30 watt tube is like $500 plus shipping. If we don't, willing to implement something like that exchange thing we were talking about probably, but $500 to recharge a tube, so they're not disposable.
Mm-hmm. So you're getting more detail out of your engraving, like if you want to do like a photo or something like that.
Yeah, the resolution is higher, just by design. So that's absolutely the case.
And it's coming with a 1.5 inch lens as well, so you'll be getting the highest quality you could possibly get out of that.
Is that comes stock in it enough to actually like exhaust it, or do you have to upgrade the fan?
You don't have to upgrade the fan. It's the same versions as the ones. I think it's a 4-inch in that one.
Yeah, 4-inch fan.
It's the same versions of inline fans we put with the Nova and Odin series and Auroras. So you shouldn't need an upgrade. We try to make all the accessories that come with it sufficient so that you don't have to do a lot of upgrading. And the air pump is the same way. And they are self-contained. We could pull up some pictures or something, but they're off-the-shelf units. So like some machines, they may have a chiller in them if they're a DC tube. I'm just using this as a for instance. But they can't use a normal chiller you'd go buy on CloudRay. They have a stripped down sideways, one that has a different form factor. So the only place you could get a replacement was from them. Whereas our peripherals that are inside that machine are off the shelf as far as we're concerned. So replacement of those, if it ever became necessary, would be easy.
Okay, so let's talk about the mirrors, because that's the single most frustrating and annoying about my Omtech 80 watt. And it's not that I don't know how to do it, because I do, but I don't like having to do it constantly.
Yeah, well, I think these are going to follow the same as all the other Thunders, because most of the Thunders, 99.9% of them, you pull them out of the box and you start running them. My Nova I just got rid of. I've had it for 4 years and I never did an alignment on it. It was still running like it was the day it came out of the box. However, and part of that's due to how beefy the mounts are for the optics, and just how the system is designed. But as Chris is showing there, to clean this stuff, you just pull out the mirrors, and then you can wipe them, slide them back in. Don't even need to align. If you do need to do an alignment, of course, we've got instruction on that. But alignment is not a common thing as it is you've probably already experienced it. And when I was doing eBay lasers, I was constantly, like when I was doing K40s, I was constantly having to align the mirrors. These aren't that way. None of the Thunders are that way. Do you have to do an alignment sometimes? Yeah, but it's not super common.
What about a
Let me get
camera?
my
I'm sorry, the camera,
built in.
it's included. Mhm.
So is the camera like one where you can integrate it with the software and like show placement on your screen, or how to?
It's for placement, and I believe it is compatible with Lightburn, so it'll work in conjunction with Lightburn's camera function.
Yeah, and it's running through a hub, so there's one USB cable rather than having two.
Mm-hmm.
Around the other way. And what do we see? Yeah, so you were asking about the mirror. You saw, I hope you saw how easy that mirror came out. And then for your lens, if you needed to clean your lens, fairly straightforward as well.
As long as you don't drop the screws down in the honeycomb.
Right. That, clean it, slide it right back in. Make sure it's aligned. They have different tray levels on here. And of course, I'm trying to avoid my camera and I can't see anything. There we go. It's the bottom one, 1.5. So fairly straightforward.
Yeah, and that head design's based off the Odin also. So that whole gantry system is.
Yeah, it should only take you maybe 2 to 5 minutes to pull out the lens, clean it, put it back in, and move on to your mirrors.
Yeah. But yep, super neat machine. I'm really excited about it.
Why doesn't
Yeah,
the Odin series and the Bolt come with the nozzle design like the Novas? Is there a reason for that?
Yes, the Nova heads and gantries are more industrial. They're really heavy, even though
Yeah.
they try to take the weight off, and that can limit speed, especially on some of the bigger gantries. So that's why the Nova series, for instance, is limited. But on those, the whole head design is made to reduce weight so that you have less inertia. We can use smaller belts. We can use smaller, faster motors, things like that. So, and these are approached more like how you see Epilogue, Trotec, ULS. All of their head designs are really lightweight, and kind of designed in the same fashion. So the
Yeah,
key
just
there
the
is to,
mirrors.
yeah, everything in that thing is trying to be as lightweight, and reduce any kind of weight as much as possible.
Thanks.
I'm tapping again. I'm going to mute myself for a minute. Can you hear it, Chris? When I was tapping the screwdriver around? Okay, I'm gonna quit.
and Myers, are you still working on that retro or air?
Yeah, I've got it functional. You talking about the nozzle?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. It's functional.
Yeah, so if that happens and Chris is able to 3D print and make a nozzle attachment for it, then this thing is going to be a cutting machine as well. I mean, it's not going to cut through inch thick material, but one of the issues with the head design and the light design that we have is the introduction of air, like you brought up, kind of. But that little 3D printed nozzle, redirecting it into the cone that will be lightweight, may fix some of that issue. Did you test it already to see how it does impact the at least the engraving?
Yeah, I think I did engraving. It looked pretty good. kind of like the Nova series. The main thing is on the cut lines. All that soot and stuff that you're used to, like if you accidentally cut on low air and you see all that soot around your cut
Right.
line, all that stuff basically gets channeled down. It almost looks like a kerf width change, but it's really just taking all your junk and going below the material surface. So it improves the quality of that, less cleanup, that kind of stuff. But engraved fine.
Yeah, I mean this engraved the standard way engraves great regardless. You're not using a lot of air for that.
I can find it.
Let's do it this way. I lost all my camera support. Oh,
Yep.
No, I did not.
You just show up as CS.
There we go. Back at it. Too many cameras to pick from. Everybody's quiet today.
I've had a heck of a week, and it's been hot in here. So I'm just kind of sitting back.
How's that cake topper coming? Tommy and Lois? You got it finished? Designed? You're on mute.
You guys are muted. Can't hear you.
No, that's a good thing, because this is being recorded still, so I can't answer how I'd like to answer.
So I may need one of y'all before the day's over.
All right, send it over.
Well, I would say, Myers, you and your black magic with the computer, we did some funky stuff with some Wi-Fi additions and everything not to start working. So I had to disconnect everything and go back to the old way that good old Brian fixed us up with. So one of you tech guys could help. That would be great.
Eventually. Yeah, I went to run the project, and I'm like, the LaserBolt Connect. I keep right-clicking. I'm closing. I'm opening the LaserBolt Connect. Yeah. But I can stream on my TV, so,
Yeah, so just IP stuff.
Tommy checked the IP address and it was fine, so we have no idea what it was, but whatever. I was able to cut the two numbers and the backer piece, and as soon as our son is done with his college final, he will start the 3D printer to do the other part of her project.
We got Chuck. Chuck is new. Stacy. Yeah, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to chime in. This was kind of a first off with a bolt. We've only had it for a week, so we're still experimenting and digging into it. And actually, none of the other guys have it yet.
What all
Rub it in, rub it in.
And thick have you cut with the bolt?
I have not yet because I'm producing some of the content. So I'm kind of going stage by stage. But headquarters in Texas cut through some 3/8, I believe it was, or almost a half an inch. Yeah, 3/8. Without any issue, it came out really nice, clean cut.
Yeah, we still got to do some more testing on that and put it through the paces and see what it will do, even though we have an idea of what we think it will do.
So basically,
is there a release date yet for that?
A release date? I think they're taking pre-orders now, aren't they? It's going to be happening.
Yeah,
to
relatively soon.
your thing.
Relatively soon.
Yeah, last time we talked to Grant, there was no pre-orders yet, but that was a
Okay,
couple days ago.
gotcha.
It's coming soon. I'm gonna guess next month, mid next month. Stacy, what was that question? We missed it.
I was asking, so basically, like, if we're talking like 1/8 inch acrylic, Baltic birch, unisub hardboard, that kind of stuff shouldn't be a problem as far as cutting is concerned.
You'll be amazed at the kerf or the cuts that you're gonna get with that. The intricate detail you can do with a beam that size is pretty amazing.
So Tommy wants you to throw that ebony in there and see if it'll cut that ebony that we sent you.
Okay. I still haven't thrown it on the CO2 yet.
Oh, put your sunglasses on.
That hard, huh?
It's bad.
I'll give it a shot. It might be it might be something for the bolt to do. Might be good at it. That thin beam.
Do we know the curve size of the bolt?
Oh,
it
look.
almost 4 times smaller than a CO2, but then it comes down to lenses, so then you start changing it again.
That's more than some napkin math.
Mr. Bell's gonna see if he can pull out some magic.
What is the Nova series? 7,000 about?
I've got data on the spot size of the Nova in one
I
of the
know it
articles.
varies on focus and all that, but
right. Let's see. I had an article where they actually checked it with an electron microscope. If I can find it.
That actually made me think of another question. Does the bolt autofocus?
Yes. Yes, and it actually has a pretty interesting feature that we brought up to Team China. So you have your focus probe, which is always offset because obviously you need the beam to come down straight. So it's offset to the back or to the front of most of these machines. Well, wouldn't it be nice that wherever your red dot is, that's where it focused at? Because you may be off, you may be on the corner of a piece of material. So it'll actually move the head to where the red dot is, focus, and then move back to, where the red dot's supposed to be. Right. So that is really nice. It's going to be very, very helpful in a lot of situations for origin points.
It's a surface autofocus?
Yeah, it's a surface probe.
Well, yeah, it's got a stylus. It's got a plunger on the head.
So it's like a BL Touch on a 3D printer or something like that?
Similar, yeah.
Okay.
The standard head, the 2-inch head on the Nova, and we're talking about a DC tube here, is the average dot size is 16.7 microns. So, and again, that's the visual representation of the beam. I don't know if we have any hard data on the actual beam waste, and that's something that I need to check and see. I'm not finding it in there. Myers, you got any? I'm sorry.
So
go
that
ahead.
beam size is that small?
Yeah, I'm trying to find that tube and see if they give a average beam size. Let me see if I can find it.
That's like almost like half a thousandth, which is like nothing.
Oh, it's crazy. It's insane how. Let's see. Average pattern quality. The beam diameter, and this is in the near field. This is before it's gone through any optics, or anything. Is 2 millimeters, and on the Nova series, the 80 and 100 watt DC tubes, it's about 6 millimeters. So it's less than half the beam diameter of the DC excited tubes. And that's coming right out of the machine, or right out of the source. So the Odin specs ought to be pretty close to that, I think. I'm still trying to find some good data on it.
Yeah, I always just wanted to know, just to try to determine curve size doing like slots, siding slots, but
Yeah,
Yeah, and
sometimes it's a little
it's
hard
hard
to
to go off of that too.
quantify. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard to base it off of that just because of material evaporation and all that. But I will definitely push it through its paces as soon as I finish what I have to finish.
Does
Hopefully
the
within the
small,
next 2 weeks.
does the smaller wattage of the tube, which I know it's an RF, which is different than, regular CO2 machines have, does that decrease the speed with which it will cut dramatically or no? Because like just, me coming from an 80 watt machine, when I hear 30 watt, it makes me think, oh gosh. But if its capabilities are, pretty close to the speed of the 80 watt, then that would be nice.
Theoretically, the RF tubes can fire a lot faster. The DC excited tubes, the glass tubes, they don't fire as fast. So you can actually, and I know you're referencing how fast you can go before you see a deficit there because of the lower power. Um, and part of that is what's that one? 1,000 millimeters per second.
Mm-hmm.
So it's twice as fast as any other machine, at least twice as fast as any other machine out there that I know of already, DC or otherwise. But these tubes have the capability to go way faster. Uh, Vectoring is going to matter if you're talking about cutting. That's going to be directly related to power, of course, because the less power you got, the slower you're going to have to go. Um, but as far as the engraving speeds, they should go all the way up to spec. So you should be able to, not that you'd ever want to, all of our machines will go at least 1,000 millimeters per second, but we still engrave in the 300 to 700 range or somewhere thereabouts.
And Stacy, one of the points I brought up the other day was, I mean, what's going to be quicker and easier to cut, a butter knife or a scalpel? We're working with a scalpel here, so your cuts, even though it's 30 watts, it's gonna move through pretty quick. I wouldn't doubt that it would be comparable to your 80 watt on those materials that you're talking about. I wouldn't doubt that you would be very, very close to the same speeds. But I'll test it. I'm gonna find out.
Chris,
Okay.
do you have the ability to change frequency on the cuts?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That is really good for edge quality, especially on acrylics.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it is adjustable. I don't know what the range is on it. What's it say?
Yeah, I don't know what the range is on this one, but I have it set on the 55 coherent. And I even made sure that Lightburn added that to their material test table. So if you do have an RF, you can actually throw that onto the table and test those frequencies out.
Mm-hmm. The modulation frequency is 0 to 25K.
No?
On that Zamia N30.
I think it's the same.
Or however you say that. How do you say that? Anyway.
Somebody had their hand up. Was it you, Richard?
That was me. I was gonna ask, does it have like the same type power supply as the CO2 tubes, or is it all encompassing of the RF?
It's different. So your RF tube only takes a DC power supply, like a 48 volt mean well, whereas your CO2s have like a ZYSC that goes up like 28,000 volts and very low current, like 30 milliamps. So completely different. This one's probably a 48 volt, 500 watt model, or 1,000
Let
watts,
me
something like that.
see.
So
It is in Meanwell RSP 548.
yep, nailed it.
Wait, you're right on Thursday.
Right?
So would it require a like dedicated circuit to run this machine, or could it be run off of like a regular outlet in your house?
So it's not going to draw more than 15 amps, which most of your circuits are capable of in your house. But your unique situation, say you've got a mini fridge or a space heater, you know, and stuff like that, combined loads, somebody plugs in their vacuum cleaner, you know, whatever you may have, a computer, whatever. So will it run off a standard 15 amp circuit? Yes. But you've got to manage what else you've got plugged in on that circuit. Same with like our Auroras, they only pull like 6 amps or so you can plug them in and run them. It's just, you know, don't have the vacuum cleaner, your mini fridge, a space heater, blow dryer, toaster, microwave, you know, that kind of stuff.
What about a lava lamp?
You know, that's almost like what, a 75 watt or 100 watt bulb. You're probably
all right.
okay with the lava lamp.
Probably be all right. I don't know if you could swing 2 of them, but
What are we thinking off of a generator?
are you asking if you could run this on a generator? I'd say absolutely.
Well, I know the generator will run it, but what modifications to make sure there's no additional feedback or any other issues due to the generator? Does that make sense?
I'd get a full sine wave, or as close as you can to one that's clean. You know what I mean? And one thing that I do know from running generators is a lot of them have an auto idle, you know, where it'll idle really low, and then once it's under load, it'll kick in and you can hear it bog down.
Yep.
That's terrible because you have a brownout condition. So whenever you use electronics on a generator, I would never turn that on so that it would go down to auto idle.
Our intent is to like plug a fan in, so the fan's always running, so it doesn't do that. It's constantly at full. Does that make sense? What I explained?
It makes sense. Pulling enough load to keep it active.
Yes, that way we don't get those massive fluctuations in that as the generator idles up and down and it does stupid stuff. But I can tell you right now, the Bolt's going to go in a trailer. It's going to go with the generator, and it's going to go every damn place that we go.
I think that's a fantastic idea. I think it'll hold up to it as long as you don't drive down old logging roads everywhere you go.
Hey, if the 3580 can hold up to that crap, that little thing better be able to.
If you use an inverter generator, it's a lot safer for the electronics.
Thanks, Jason. I'll look at that.
I'm actually doing the same thing for a trailer, but also going to put it inline. I think they call it a voltage smoother or something like that.
Where it's probably just AC, DC, AC.
It's got some kind of capacitor or something in there that hold the charge or something. So if there is fluctuations, it actually picks it up, almost like a UPS, sort of.
We've got a new attendee. Ethan, if you have anything that you want to ask, feel free to hop on in. You are on mute, though.
Just listening about the new Thunderbolt, that's all.
If you have any questions about it, go ahead, and you might have jumped in a little late. So,
I do. I haven't necessarily had the time to do the research on it. So is this a CO2? Is this a UV? Is this a fiber? Is it a desktop? What are we talking here?
It's a desktop 30-watt RF tube, which is CO2, but it's RF. There's going to be a desktop, though.
So I did see Jason the other day post a video that looked like that machine was hauling some serious ass. Excuse my language, but was that real time, or did he have that sped up?
I'm going to say real time.
The video is sped up 1.5, but that was run at full speed, 1,000 millimeters a second. So it wasn't far off from it.
And what is the price point of this one?
$5,000. For what you're getting, that's an insane. I don't know where the profit margin is on this one.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it either. They must have got a heck of a deal on those tubes.
Yeah.
$5,000. That's literally just above the Glowforge. That's crazy.
Yep. It is crazy.
Well, the Glowforge has a little 40-watt glass tube in it, and this is going to blow that glass tube out of the water, though. And 1,000 millimeters top speed.
And motorized Z-axis, rotary support. Yep. So, yeah. You don't have to have a riser or any of that additional stuff to make a rotary work or anything like that. So
not cloud-based.
Oh, that's great. All in its own.
So is this geared more towards your rotary cups and things of that sort? Or I've got a Nova 51 100 watt. So would that be something that would be good for our business, or should we look in more towards the fiber realm of things, like Aurora?
Are you wanting to do cups?
Not right now.
Okay, if you're just doing like the stainless cups that have a coating on them, I would stick with your CO2. Now, if you're trying to do cups that are that JDS acrylic or stainless steel where you mark black, that's when fiber comes in handy, in my opinion. Or if you're trying to do MOPA with colors and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Galvo and doing cups in mass quantity. It's just not efficient. I think the Bolt would be good for that. The Bolt has a dedicated system.
Yeah. The Bolt would make a good dedicated cup machine, just like a Nova 24 probably would, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You get a little more depth out of the Nova, depending on, you know, for bigger cups. But we've got a special rotary that's going with this Bolt that's ultra low profile. Jason could probably elaborate on that a little bit more if he wanted to.
Yeah, as far as the rotary goes, it's a new rotary altogether. Just the height constraints to work with, but it works as a junior or anything like that. It doesn't have the mechanized lifting, so it's all manually operated to try to cut down on cost. You know, that way you're getting kind of a budget rotary with the budget machine kind of thing. But you're not just like the Bolt. You're not really skimping on quality. It's just we cut back a few of the perks or the the finer things just to make it a little bit more cost effective to people. But it runs off the same motor that your other lasers work off of. So technically, you could probably use it in a different laser. You just wouldn't get. You're not quite getting the flexibility out of it as you would on a much larger machine or even a Nova 24 for that matter.
I do like the addition of the cover. That is pretty nice, and I do like you got the magnetic mounts on it still, so you made sure that was still capable. So that's good.
Yeah, it's still got 3-point magnets on it, so it's still stable on the bed and everything. And I'm actually going to be looking at doing some, I guess you'd call them pin feet. So they'll actually stick in the bed to give it a little bit more stability. But the magnets by itself are pretty sufficient, but just something else to kind of play around with and see if we can get something a little bit more solid out of it. But
Good job on covering them wires, Jason. I appreciate that.
Well, I've been up in the air about doing that because I mean it's never really been an issue to speak of, I guess. But yeah, I could definitely see where people's concerns were and things like that. So we decided to make a cover that clips on over it, so it's easy to put on and easy to take off. So if you have
Yeah,
to
it's
get
nice
to
and
any,
clean.
so if you need to get anything or whatever, it's just easily removed and then put back on. No tools required, basically.
No, it looks like it's just a snap on, snap off.
Yeah,
It does make it look a lot cleaner. So I appreciate it because I'm kind of like Tommy. I like stuff hidden.
it's kind of grown on me. I wouldn't say I was hesitant to do it, but I did. I mean, there wasn't. I didn't see much of a need for it. But with a couple concerns coming up and things like that, I figured I might as well go ahead and do it. And it's really not adding anything to the cost of the rotary, so just seemed like a simple, easy thing to do to fix that. And we have them. By the way, we have them. If you have a rotary already and you want one, the covers are free. You just cover the shipping to wherever you're at, and the cover's free. So if you want one, you can get one.
Well, when I order the next set of rotaries, just throw one in the box.
Oh, will that fit any of them? I guess it will.
It'll fit any of them, all the rotaries.
Well, I need to get some magnetic feet from you, so maybe I'll get you to throw some of them in too. So
that's right. You still got the old baby.
Yeah.
Jason,
I got an all metal one.
What's that?
Where were those Tuesday? I told you don't come empty-handed.
Well, I mean, I didn't plan on meeting with you because you were on vacation. I didn't know you were going to be back. Would have brought some.
Myers has a 3D printer. If he wanted one that bad, you could hook him up.
What? Who we know?
Or he could design one. I don't know if the design would work. He uses SLR printers, I think, don't you? Or do you use FDM?
No. Yeah, I got them both. I hate resin printing.
Yeah,
way too much post processing.
If you need something resin printed, ours have been running nonstop here lately. So
yeah, I wouldn't touch that with somebody else's money. Not that they're bad; they're awesome machines. It's just messy and just there's so much pre and post processing and all that stuff. It just to me, it's not worth it. And with I got the new Bamboo Labs printer, and that thing. I mean, you almost can't even tell it's an FDM printer. That thing's so good.
I'm going to have to end up getting one of those so I can have it collect dust, aren't I? Just to see what it's all about.
You can get a fully enclosed one so the dust stays on the outside.
I'll tell you what, I bought 2 of them with the multi filament. So that way, if it runs out, it just switches over to the next roll. But with those there, I mean, the time it takes to print something is cut in half on most everything. I mean, it's just so fast. The quality's just phenomenal. But yeah, not to get off subject there, but.
And we do have a couple of new joiners, so if anybody wants to speak up, has questions, whether they be about the Bolt or the Nova or the Odin or our UV, which is amazing.
Or lava
I can't
lamps.
wait for that.
Don't go there. Don't bring up the damn UV yet.
UV is phenomenal.
I have a space. Yes.
When are you going to start taking orders on the Bolt?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'll ask and hopefully I'll have an answer.
You can just hit me up offline or whatever, but we plan on having the rotaries ready for that as well. Okay. The parts for that should be here in about a week or 2, so we should be able to.
Oh, well, if this affects when we're going to start getting our rotaries, then we've already started selling them.
I got one still at the shop that's going to go to some lucky person. I don't know who that's going to be, but
I don't even have a Bolt.
On Tuesday, but no.
What's that?
Could have been me on Tuesday.
No, I still got to play with it a little bit.
It seems that Myers is a little hostile because you didn't bring him anything on your visit.
Yeah, it sounds like it, doesn't it?
I'll send him something in the mail
There you
to
go.
make up for it.
I'll get him something heading his way when I get back.
But anybody else that's joined in the conversation looking at the UV as well, besides Tommy, who's patiently waiting? Oh, the sad face.
Well,
I'll tell you.
without the tracking number and all that other stuff, it's kind of we're in limbo. I'm just waiting for the truck to randomly show up.
You might be waiting a while.
DHL stuff.
Well, I know it's been shipped. That's about all I know.
Oh, you already got one shipped to you?
But it's
yeah.
air. Is it air?
So what's comical is George has ordered one a week after me. He's got numerous emails, and I had to ask Grant if mine had even shipped yet. So the communication China needs to work on that communication.
I think they will as they get them rolling out. I'm supposed to have one coming too, but they're putting everybody else ahead of me, which is fine. So I haven't heard about that thing in forever. They said it would be on the way, and I've heard nothing. So and I'll work for them.
You're gonna look out your door one day and go, "Oh, somebody dropped something off."
Yeah, that'll be okay. I'm ready for it. I got my table in today and got that thing set up so I can have both my fibers next to each other in camera view. So
you got the same table I did, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
The height adjustable one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
drawers
like
in mine.
I don't have the drawers.
Yeah, I got the drawers.
I got too many drawers already.
So I could always use the space. Now I just wait.
Does Rob has a different UV, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got one from Pascal, I think.
I might send him my my library. I need some further testing, and since Tommy's taken forever.
Hey, don't blame me for this.
Chris, I've got a UV too.
Do you? Okay. Yeah, I can send you 5 watts.
Yeah, 5 watts.
Okay, I can send you the library. It's extensive.
Yes,
I'll need that soon.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully.
Well, it'll be on the site once we start selling them out.
Unless you think anybody's going to bogart it and try to sell it on Etsy? You remember?
I'm sure.
You remember like our free material test files? That still burns me up.
I don't doubt it.
Hey, Chris, we're working on putting our library for both machines into a massive spreadsheet to send to you as well. That way you've got all the weird stuff that we do.
Yeah, I'm going to redo some of these libraries because I can't stand the way they're formatted.
So that way you'll have that information, what we found that works as well.
Are these
Lightburn
libraries?
Has it so weird. Yeah, Lightburn library is correct.
Is it? It seems to me the original Lightburn library is kind of far off of where it should be, isn't it?
That thing was thrown together because there was a necessity for it, using a bunch of different sources, and then replicated for the different wattages, and then so yeah, there's a lot wrong with those original Nova ones.
Okay.
Yeah, they're definitely not an easy button. They might get you in the parking lot of the ball field, but it definitely won't be a home run.
You still got to walk to your gate, but you're parked on the other side.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I admit those are a little bit haphazard. So that's something that we're looking at. I think Loco's looking at that anyway, revisiting some of those. And
yeah, the UV was my start. The only thing that I find difficult is making one for the fibers. 20 watt frequencies, Q pulse. It's difficult to nail that down. There is. At least with the UV, you don't touch the power, and now I only have 2 settings to worry about, really. Well, speed still, but...
And that's one reason why we hadn't worked, or I haven't, up until this time, worked real hard on those Nova libraries, because even if we had it perfect, it'll act different on everybody's machine with everybody's materials anyway. There ends up being dialing in anyway. So I think that was kind of why that was not such a high priority, because even if we were to get it tweaked as perfectly as we could, there's still going to be, But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of stuff going on that's goofy in the current libraries for the Novas. Somebody's had their hand. Let's see, Chuck, I think.
Yeah, since I'm a brand new user, I have a Nova 63. You mentioned that the Lightburn material library is not very accurate. Is there someplace else you can point me?
Not really, because most, as far as a ready-made library, there are some out there, but there's so many differences. Especially, we can do it with Thunder because they're all made the same. They use the same power supply, so we have some consistency there, and they're all calibrated the same way. But as a general rule, the reason Lightburn doesn't even talk about material libraries other than how to make one is because that's just not a thing, because there's so many variables out there. So we try, and I think Loco was going to expand on that a little bit. I think you had a take on it too.
Yeah, I do. I mean, cutting, you're in a window, right? It's either going to cut through or it's going to score. So there's not and I don't even like the cutting tests on some of these anyway, because you're not checking for an arch or a 45 where it's changing from max and min. So I make a special graphic for my cuts. But when it comes to engraving, that's all personal preference. So you have to run your material chart to see, all right, I like 200 speed and 30% power. So because there is depth, there is darkness and lightness and contrast of different settings. So there's not a cure-all for engraving, at least, when it comes to most of these materials.
Yeah, it's hard to quantify, hard to put a number on, and hard to replicate across different machines. So.
Now, with the UV and with the fiber, we can kind of get close to just about every machine and the same result. We're in that window. They're not as, I guess, it's not fluctuating as much as a CO2 would. Let me see if I can share this. I pick the screen and I click share. Can you guys see that? Is it large on your side? Okay.
It's large and in charge.
So this is what the UV library will look like. And Tommy was nice enough to send me a whole bunch of scraps of different types of wood. That is the only reason why we have bloodwood or cherry or all this other stuff. But I mean, let's just take a gold business card, aluminum business card, for example. Dark gray, light gray, gray, shiny silver, white. I'm trying to break it down to all these different things. So if you did buy a UV, you can really hit the ground running and, create different layers and get whatever result that you want. Maple, what did I get with maple? PLA, not a whole heck of a lot, but I mean, you can see that I like this a lot better than the other way that it's the libraries run. Whiteboard, a couple different colors. So it'll be beneficial for those of us that are getting the UV, but I'm going to try to do this with the Bolt as well, because it's going to be very beneficial to that crowd that's buying as well. And it'll be a more constant source too, right, Brian? You would think?
Yeah. I think doing this with the RF sources makes more sense than the DC ones, even though the gantry, alignment really and air and stuff have a lot to do with it also. So, there's still going to be some variables there, but yeah.